followers, subscribers, g'day and good evening. My name is Craig Whitney. I'm the founder of Next Level Coaching and Not the Mic and the Legacy Forge podcast. You doing well today, this morning or this evening, wherever you are in this world? There is no hope. It's either we are or we're not. Yeah? Today's episode. Now, this is a solo episode today. It's just me. I did have a guest booked in, but technology decided to play hardball and, things just didn't pan out as they planned. However, as promised, there is another episode and we will book for that at a later date. So you got me today just recording solo. So what is planned for today? Well, it did have a plan, but that obviously went down the creek without a paddle. So I jumped on and thought, well, let's just do a solo episode, get to know me a little bit, get to know Next Level Coaching a little bit, get to know the Legacy Forge a little bit. So what is Next Level Coaching and the ARETE Method? So what that is, it is an experience that's put together through my life experience, through my journey of where I went down the depths and the darkness of mental health breakdowns, suicide attempts, where I've been hauled in front of the magistrates and held accountable and come out the other end, shamed, attempted suicide, survived, where I've taken on the depths of recovery through men's work and through a number of other personal development exercises and continuous perseverance to not give in to society's fuck you, you're a label, we're going to label you, expertise, and keep moving on to go on and build something instead of just disappearing into the background like all the others do and give up or become one of these celebrity influencer biker / criminals who fund their lifestyle by sharing and bragging about their crimes of what they've done and make money off their lavish clothing and stuff like that. I mean, I'm not here to make money off my past. I don't give a fuck about my past anymore. It's done. It's dusted. It's in the books. It's in the history books. My story's on the internet if you want to go read a biased, news article, which I don't give a shit about anymore. It's about eight years out of date to the recording of this podcast. Yes, I did what I did, acted out of anger and ego because I was a different man back then who I was. So for those who are listening, so my story goes in 2017, I literally burnt out, acted out in anger. I was triggered by an ex-partner of mine, an ex-girlfriend of mine. I won't say her name. I respect her and her privacy. By the lines of I want a separation, and by the way, we're getting an abortion under the same lines, and by the way, I'm pregnant. Now, I was already burning out. I was in a transport business that was physically and mentally killing me. I created a monster, very successful business at the time. However, not very successful as my health was suffering. And this moment just come along as the wrong moment in time, acted as a trigger. Now, I was triggered. I was very much triggered. I acted out in anger, not on her or her children by any chance. No, I took my anger inward, acted out on myself, took my anger out on my loved ones, my animals, my dogs. I had 5 dogs at the time. I ended up killing one out of anger and frustration, something I'll live with for the rest of my life. However, I'm not going to let the media and the so-called animal activists keep putting me down over it. It's not that I don't care about it anymore. I do carry it on my heart and my sleeve, and it pushes me. It drives me to get up out of bed every day to keep pushing forwards on becoming the better man that I was, 8 to 10 years ago, of the nervous wreck and the shell of who I once was. So I acted out in anger, killed a dog, injured another. The media will hype it up as the usual way. I'll just give it to you straight, and attempted to bury my evidence, which then I took the evidence, put it in a plastic shopping bag, and took it down to a local river where I knew that sharks and tidal sort of changes would happen. And I took the gamble of to hide my evidence instead of burying it in my backyard. If that's triggering for you, well, cool. Whatever. I've been hated and hated and hated, so there's no possible more hate that I can receive that I can go, oh, well, that's it. So that's the start of my story, and progressing from here where it goes, the evidence ended up washing up on the shore, got picked up by a local walker, handed into a vet, and the tags and that tracked back to the owner, which in turn back to me. And then I got raided by authorities, had the rest of my animals confiscated, taken away, which I fought to keep. And 2018 was a year that really seen me in and out of courts. until September 20th of September 2018, where I pled guilty to I think it was 3 counts of, 1 account of abuse and 2 counts of neglect, failure to care, whatever the acts are. I can't remember off the top of my head. Got fined a whole heap of money plus costs and no conviction recorded, and shamed heavily in the media. Lost my jobs, lost my licenses, lost my reputation and the character of who I was. And basically it showed me really who was my friends around me and who was just invoice partners, meaning those who around me just wanted to be around me because I was paying them money for a service. In tough times, ladies and gentlemen, in tough times, the true people come out and shine their true colors. Even though that time of my life probably was my rock bottom, it really showed the true colors of people that I needed around me and who was around me, because they cared for their egos and their reputations. Reputation is one thing in business. I get it. I get it. However, if one of my clients go through struggle, I'm out there. I'm reaching out. Okay. I've built Next Level Coaching to have the strong values of that families first. What I mean by that is my clients are my family. Those around me are my family. I treat them as if they're my family. I've got your back. I don't care what you're going through. I've got your back because I know what it's like to be alone. I know what it's like to be stripped bare of everything, even though I was egocentric and left naked in the wind, vulnerable to start again, where all my creatures of comfort taken away. I know how that feels. So the ethos of Next Level is your family. Family first. I want to see you succeed. So after my court case, I disappeared in shame. I quickly went and seen an old client of mine and up in Burpengary, up here in the north side of Brisbane, who I knew through the logistics industry, and bought myself a 38 Smith & Wesson pistol, and then pissed off to Innisfail up in far north Queensland, booked into a caravan and proceeded to take my life. Plain and simple. I was on my knees with a loaded pistol in my mouth, tears in my eyes. Phone was going crazy with phone calls, threats, messages, Facebook messages. My case went off. I think when I counted the hit rates 6 weeks later, I reread it. It had something like 6,000 hits and 12,000 shares. So it wasn't like a major case. However, in the local community where I'm from, it was a really big case. People got a hold of my number. They got a hold of my registration. Hopefully, they never got a hold of my address at the time. And, it was a witch hunt. Classic witch hunt. People were triggered left, right, and center. Anyway, so I was on my knees, pistol in my hand. First click in my mouth, click. It didn't go off. I reclocked the pistol. Second time round, click. Never went off. By this time, I was thinking, did I actually buy a pistol that would actually work? I wanted out. The shame was there. Third time lucky, I cocked it, put it in my mouth. I tasted the taste of gunpowder for the first time for a used pistol. And as I proceeded to pull the trigger, my phone rang. Now, out of all the disgusting phone calls I received at the time, I picked this one up. I don't know why. I don't know what possessed me to do that, but I did. And it was a man on the other end who gave me the space that I needed to hear me out. And then from that conversation, it helped me bring me back to Brisbane and receive the emergency psychological treatment that I needed to keep me standing. And then from there, I was introduced into men's work through the Mankind Project, which I have a lot of love for, and the men around that organisation that I have a lot of love and a lot of respect for. Although I did start my therapy and that in 2018 and recovery, my behaviour did relapse coming into 2019. Not out of anger or frustration, out of guilt, out of shame that I wanted to give back. Now, the media won't tell you that. They'll just say he breached a prohibition order, okay, which I did. However, I wanted to give back. So I thought, well, let's adopt 2 more dogs and see how we go. Stupid of me. I did breach that order, which then I got dobbed in, obviously, and then raided again, which then reset the parameters again of in and out of court for 2019. So come July 10, 19, I pleaded guilty to a breach of prohibition order, which I am very grateful to this day that I had a really good probation officer through community corrections. I had a really good psychologist who backed me. I had some really cool people in your team. So there's a lesson there, guys, out there. If you're going through the moment, analyze who's on your team for your support. Yeah, comes back to who's got your back. And so the opposition, the RSPCA at the time, they wanted to send me to jail, right? They wanted me to do time. They were pushing for jail time. They could have got it. The magistrate that they had who was serving me at the time, he was known for locking people up on the first case. Very, very tough judge. However, the odds went in my favour. So the end of that verdict was I got a 3-month suspended jail sentence over 3 years. Probation and parole, or community corrections is what they call it now, did not cancel my probation. They stayed out of it. And my psychologist gave me a really good reference at the time. If probation or community corrections had cancelled my probation, I would have done the extent of my time in prison. So I would have done in excess of up to 3 years in jail. So the outcome of that was I got a suspended sentence, 3 months over 3 years, conviction obviously recorded for magistrate's purposes, and probation continued. And I'm getting a verbal warning off my community corrections officer because of it, and thank my lucky gratitude and stars that I didn't go to jail at that time. So 2019, so the rest of 2019, so 10 days after that court case, I was initiated into the Mankind Project, which seen me expose a lot of my trauma, a lot of my shame, a lot of my guilt. So I walked that mountain quite a busted man. I come down with some acute awareness and a pathway of what to go, which then 3 months later, I started visiting prisons and listening to stories of men who had just given up. They'd given up. They'd been doing their time. Some of them are in jail for 5, 10, 15. Some are doing life. Some will never see the light of day again. Just listening to their stories with no inclination of going anywhere. And then I started a small men's circle in Woodford, which from what I heard last is still going with probably 3 men which gave me the sense of, well, there is a pathway forwards. I can do something here. So 2020 come around. COVID obviously hit. The world went mad. March 2020 I was challenged by a good friend of mine to start a group, just a Facebook group called The Second Chance Man, just as a storyboard, which I did. And all through COVID, I just started sharing random stuff, which got a traction of some people. Some people dropped off. I didn't care. I just kept going. And for the next 2 or 3 years, I just kept going and going and going. Started a degree, put that on hold, started life coaching or a master's practitioner in life coaching. I've done all my NLP training, prac, masters, trainers training. I just recently finished the last of all my trainers training for 2 years. So I pretty much did a 5-year master practitioner in just over 2 years. I just went hard. I put my head down, ass up, and focused. And it wasn't just studying a curriculum to learn some skills. It was also coaching myself to the man that I wanted and needed to become, that leader. The Second Chance Man kept going and going and going until I was challenged by a recent coach that I acquired this year, who challenged me directly to look at my branding and my branding's message and the unconscious message, that I was attracting clients that were my mirror image of the man who I was. Men at the time looking for a place to hide and safety, not growth and transformation. So men that just escaped a domestic violence situation, men that just escaped an alcohol addiction or an outburst, men just escaped a drug overdose attempt, men that just escaped, whatever, name the situation, and were looking for a place to hide, because I was a nice guy and I was forgiving and I was too nice to the point of being a fucking doormat for these people, because I felt guilt and shame, because that was a mirror image of who I was, a fucking perpetrator some years ago. And I felt it was nice to start a support group to give these guys an unconscious bit of safety for their actions. And I got called out on that hard. This type of coach is a type of Shark Tank style coaching. And of course, stubborn me, I didn't listen first time round. Second time round, I went back and I got crucified even harder, because the first time I didn't listen. I got my ass kicked, which then sent the Second Chance Man rebranded into Next Level Coaching. That's right. So 2025, Next Level Coaching hasn't been around a long time, but the ethos of the Second Chance Man has. And it's not like some multi-million-dollar organization and look at me with my helicopters and Ferraris and jets. No. I have a passion for legacy. I have a passion for reconnecting fathers and leaders to their families, to their communities, to their businesses, to their teams. Yeah, legacy is my next level. So Next Level Coaching got rebranded into on the second time I met this nasty coach, and I was only re-invited back into his circle because I didn't overreact and carry on like a lot of life coaches do. And they get triggered easily when someone who just bulldozes through their bullshit and gets to the point. I sat there and I took it and I come back. So I've been on my second stage now with this coach, and I'm about to go to LA in November this year at Universal Studios to speak on stage for the first time in front of audience members who are 7, 8, 9, 10 figure leaders in there outright. Now, he didn't have to let me back in his circle, but it was the fact that I didn't carry on like a drama queen and expose all my wounds all over the floor for others to see on how fucking triggered I was because someone had a go at me because of my branding was so wrong. Furthermore, where next level coaching is. So that's my story. I don't want to go too deep on it. I don't want the sympathy. I don't want the big hug moment. Oh, everything's okay. I don't want the enablers coming around. No, that's not the message. I'm not interested in getting likes, love hearts, or flowery comments. It's going to be okay. My life was fucked. I was a fucking loser. I was a man who burnt out, who destroyed himself. I lived life on ego, not on soul. I destroyed myself. I copped a criminal conviction for shit that I did wrong. Now, most of that's been mopped up. I'm clear. I've paid my dues. I've done my time. I've paid my fines. I'm pretty much clear. I'm at the stage legally where I can go and get my licenses all back, which I am in the process of doing. I'm in the process of getting my firearms license here in Queensland just to prove a point that I'm no longer under restriction of a criminal conviction. I've sponsored my other half, my partner from Brazil. I've passed all federal police checks. I've got my dangerous goods licenses. I've got my radiology licenses. I'm in the process of doing my transport licenses for Uber or my taxi. And I'm in the process of doing my gun license for Queensland. So anybody out there says you are limited by criminal convictions, well, it depends on the severity, case pending. Yeah. So the next part of my story is, well, what is next level coaching? So basically next level is built on the foundation of my story, okay, and experiences and the training. We take leaders from ordinary to extraordinary. I've worked out a problem in Australia, and studies in 2023, 2024 do suggest from the small to medium business commerce that 11,049 businesses went bankrupt. Now, bankruptcy on its own terms isn't a bad thing. Let's go deeper in the lens. Let's look a little deeper. Let's look at the leaders themselves. What values do you reckon they had at the time to cause that? You know, there's cases of potential fraud here. We look at examples of I'll use examples. One big construction company called Condev, which has been in the media, over $130 million. It's a huge case, but this is a classic case of drift gone to extreme. So what is drift? I'll define drift. Drift is all these unconscious behaviors added up over time. They start off small, like missing an agreement, skipping the gym, not keeping your word to your loved ones, your kids, your family, your team, maybe cooking the books a little bit come tax time, maybe not showing up when you were supposed to. You know, just these small little steps out of integrity that slowly add up. And boy, does drift eventually send the invoice, and it hurts. And we can keep going and going and going to the extremes of these cases of Condev, a massive construction company that's gone broke. These directors will do jail time because there is fraud, and also XL Express, who's collapsed, a big transport company, which I know one of the company directors who did do jail time a few years ago for legitimately ripping off his business partners in a legitimate fraud case. Now, these other two directors will do time. They will do time. Another $130 to $150 million disappeared. Contractors, suppliers, rents, landlords, all being, ripped off. Drift. Look at the leaders, not the situation. What kind of values? What kind of leader does this? Look deeper than the surface on what the media actually explains. Yeah, that's where next level coaching comes in. That's where the ARETE method comes in. ARETE is Greek for walking in excellence from head to heart to the highest purpose. Underneath ARETE comes the path of virtuous, learning daily repetitious habits. Repetition is the master of all habits, and it's also perfect practice makes permanence. Yeah. And then we look at Aetenim. Aetenim is those that walk the path of leadership, the path of modeling. These are Greek, yeah? Aetenim is also a mark of the immortal. So we're looking leadership and legacy. And then we have another set called Dominion. Now, Dominion is Greek, again, leading from head to heart. It's the extension of virtuous, and it's the middle carrier of between virtuous and Aetenim. So it's 3 tiers. Aetenim is mark of the immortal. What do you want to be remembered by? What mark you want to leave on this planet? Legacy is big these days. What mark do you want to be immortalized by? Is it a totem of toys, cash, ego, memento, statues, quotes, surface level stuff. I mean, money can be spent. Inherited cash without a set mindset disappears quick. Businesses inherited down the family tend to go bankrupt because the kids don't. They inherit the business structure and the income. However, they don't generally inherit the skills, what it takes to lead. I'll give you a definition of legacy. That legacy comes to me. Legacy is what I leave behind. Steps that I leave behind to follow to greatness. Not cash, not assets, not totems, not ego, not quotes. Steps. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Like a path. Follow the bouncing ball. What steps can I leave behind and duplicate for those leaders to follow me? And this is not another business building sort of journey where I'm teaching you how to generate more leads. No. We live in a society where we're consistently flogged out at doing more is okay. And then we get to the have and we climb the rank of that ladder to the top of that ladder and we realize we've built something so great and so dandy and with so much depth and brevity that we don't want it. We destroy ourselves or destroy the business because we don't want it. And then we be the leader that we don't want. We become that destructive leader. So next level is all about reversing that, being the leader that we want to be. So my question is to you out there, who do you want to be? Think of all the potential models out there. Modeling is one of my passions. Who do you want to be? Pick a model them. Find a coach, a mentor, someone you're inspired by. I have many mentors. I have many coaches. I surround myself with those that I agree with and those that I controversially disagree with, because I don't want to be in a love nest. If I were to put all my mentors and coaches in one circle, guaranteed there's going to be a punch up, figurative, because I have leaders from all walks of life, from religions to beliefs, who agree and disagree. And I personally agree and completely disagree with some of them because of their values, their beliefs. I don't want people in my corner that are going to keep me comfortable. I don't want people who are just going to be a fucking team of yes people and just take my money. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. 3 bags full. Fuck off. That's not a team around you. That's a team of followers. That's a team of sheep. Who wants sheep as a leader? Go join a cult if you want that sort of shit. I want leaders around me who we can rise to ascension to that next level. Sometimes that means having that confrontational conversation. Now we get to the do. Do. Instead of living in this 21st century do, consume more courses, till we fucking burn out. No. Do the steps that are needed to become the be. Then have. Work out what you want to have as a leader. What sort of family do you want? What sort of organization do you want? Work out your legacy that you wish to have. That's the ethos of next level and the path of virtues, the path of dominion, the path of aetonum. That is the ethos. Leadership in Australia is clouded. We have lost the plot and it is modelling down. I'll say it again. The leadership in Australia in this current climate lacks balls, has got a lot of brains and a lot of compassion. It lacks balls or backbone. Yeah? What I'm saying is they lack action. We have leaders that are not business leaders. We have leaders that are just politicians and academics, not skilled leaders. Yeah? Leadership is being a model, modeling that example. So what are you modeling on a day-to-day basis? Who are you modeling? Who are you being? And of course, there's business. Now, I have this discussion daily on business ideas and I get pounced on and pitched. I'm pretty well old school. Come to me with an idea. Cool. Let's get it in writing. If you can't give it to me in writing, then your idea is either just a piece of hype or it's a scam. This is where I liked the franchising model. And a good franchising model is done in writing. You have a 300-page deed, and some franchise systems, they make you go and get legal advice to spend the $1,500 or whatever it is to get it overviewed to your satisfaction. Otherwise, they won't let you start a franchise. Yeah? Go and get legal advice, right? Have it all in writing because the agreements are there. If the agreement's done fairly, then it acts as a foundation to protect each other from themselves. That way, there's no changing of the rules at random. There's none of this hype-based bullshit. It's all solid. It's all logical. And I speak from experience, man. I speak from experience. Be old school. Have everything done in writing. Yes, it's meticulous. Yes, it's detail. Yes, and yes, and yes. However, I'm sick and tired of hearing these stories where it's like, okay, I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. I told you so. You lost 150 grand to some sort of Ponzi scheme. I told you so. You lost your life savings to some sort of bullshit shitcoin. I told you so. Have it clear and in writing that you sign any agreements and stick to your agreements. Be a leader of integrity. If you sign for an agreement, you stick to it. Words, verbal agreements don't mean jack shit. All right? Because then they become hearsay. If we're going to agree or do business together, it's got to be on paper. As meticulous that is, save that I told you so story. Anyways, guys, so that's my take right there. So the future of Next Level Coaching is creating leaders for tomorrow, the next generation, and doing business and partnering with people and taking them to the next level. And the Legacy Forge podcast come out of an inspiration to revamp my original podcast, or the Last Chance podcast, which didn't go anywhere in COVID, to the Legacy Forge. I like hearing about people's stories, their inspiration, their transformations, not for a trauma bond session, but to go that next level. The other issue is we have too many of these life coaches who get together and they bond together and they trauma bond. These Tony Robbins people, they get up and do the rah-rah and the hype-based crap. It sells to a surface level, but depth, no. It doesn't carry any weight or conviction. And a lot of these life coaches they've come out of a Tony Robbins seminar and then evolved out of some sort of mental health crisis, which, okay, trauma is a massive part in our life. However, to go next level and step into the big boys league, the top 1%, which is the elite business world, this is where the leaders are, who are ruthless and predatory, and they know their place in what you call a food chain. Yeah, a food chain. Know your place. They won't take any shit. Simple as that. And if you want to bring the little life coachy or, story to these types of events, don't be offended if you get shark tanked and stood over, because it's just not welcome. Vulnerability is a weakness. It is a weakness. This massive trend of I've got to be vulnerable. Vulnerability is your superpower. No, it's not. Vulnerability many, many, many moons ago when we were living in the caves and chasing woolly mammoth for the tribe to feed, vulnerability meant weakness. It meant I was prey. It meant I was food. I was somebody's lunch. That's what vulnerability meant. Vulnerability is not your superpower. Vulnerability is prey, is food. To go next level, we switch vulnerability to radical honesty. Yeah, I'm not going to be vulnerable. Yeah, okay, dinosaurs and woolly mammoths and that have gone extinct. However, the threats have evolved. I'm not going to share my life story in front of my work colleagues because more than likely I'll get shamed. I'll get poked at. I'll get teased. I'll get taken down. I'm not going to share my life story to the boys at a barbecue, even though I don't go to many barbecues because they're all little boys getting pissed. But that's beside the point, hypothetical example, because they'll more than likely give me more beer or give me a durry and tell me to shut the fuck up and not be a pussy, right? But being radically honest, yeah, cool. I got no problem with it. I got no problem with admitting my faults. I got no problem about being honest to people, providing I know my targets, my people, yeah? Providing I know who I'm explaining to. So trust but verify is the other thing I'll suggest. People out there are going to cut you the fuck down. They're going to be terrible. Trust, verify. That's the other skill that I've learned. Know my surroundings. Have some sort of situational awareness. And I've got a pretty thick head on me. I can sit in circles that completely disagree with me and come from a place of learning. I have a unique skill that others don't. And it's the ability to see shit or see things through other people's perspectives and from a learning perspective. I'm not perfect. I'm human. I have my faults too. However, I can take people's experiences and I can see it through others' eyes. At the same time, I'm learning to read people in under 5 minutes and gauge whether or not they'll be successful or not due to the skills that I'm learning. Yeah. Anyways, guys, that's my take. This is the future of Next Level. Next Level Coaching, we take leaders from ordinary to extraordinary, from drift to destiny. That's right, from drift to destiny, because who you are in public doesn't match who you are in private. Stay tuned for more podcast episodes. This is episode 3, episode 4. Leave it a bit of a surprise for you. All major platforms, so subscribe, leave me some reviews and some comments. Still new to this, getting used to tech and so forth. So yeah, I'm on Apple and Spotify and wherever else I land upon. Anyways, guys, I'm out. Have an awesome day, morning or night, wherever you are, and tune in next time. See you later. Bye for now.